So we gotta get another window open here. Good morning, everybody. How are you today? I hope you're doing amazing on this Friday, getting ready for a strong end, not a weekend. Let's see here. Get over here. Most powerful DMP idea. And there's slides. Awesome. Get that over here. Cool, cool, cool. Anybody have any questions so far on what we've covered? We're getting ready to where your avatar actually lives online. That's what we're doing today, episode 4. And this is the workbook. Okay, hang on. There we go. There's the master document. All right. Episode 2. Episode 4. Here we go. And we want to do a little share screen here. Slideshow. There we go. Just an FYI, uploading your slides to Google Slides makes it easier when you go to share screen on Zoom, that you can have its own tab open. It doesn't have to go full screen like it does on a PowerPoint. So there you go. Just a little FYI help. Okay, so there's a comment here. Let me check that real quick. Abundant Friday. Thank you, Adrian. Maybe later. All right. So let me share the screen. Good morning, everybody. There's no sound, so share. All right, now you see it. Hey, good morning, everybody. For the recording, good morning, everybody. Welcome to episode 4, where your avatar actually lives online. Remember, the golden thread that we have in this conversation, in this training series, in this education conversation, is you can't belong to a room you are not in. I know that makes sense. I know we hear that. If we're not in the room our avatar is in, there's no way, there's not a snowball's chance in Haiti that they are going to show up in the room you want them in. So we're 3 episodes in. You have your DMP as your marketing strategy, your avatar built from the inside out, your 1 problem statement. Did you work on that? That was a big one. That was a big one for most people. A lot of people had a lot of questions on that. Today we get tactical, because everything we have built so far is only valuable if the right people can find it. And you can't create belonging in a room you're not in. So today we find the rooms. If you're ready, drop an R in the chat for rooms. I want to find the rooms my prospects, my avatars, my best clients are in. So welcome back to this marketing system. We're 3 episodes in already, and here's what you have so far. Your DMP is a marketing strategy. Your avatar built on the inside out. Today we get that tactical. The front door of your business is the 1 problem that you solve, right? Today we get tactical, because everything we built so far is only valuable if the right people can find it. So where do they actually live online? And when I say lives, I don't mean where they scroll. I mean, where do they go to look for answers? Have you asked that? Have you been asked that by your coaches and trainers? Mentors would ask you that. I mean, where are they going to look for answers? Where do they go when the pain we described in episode 2 gets loud enough that they start reaching out for help? That's the difference between an audience and a market. Most people have an audience on their social media. Most people have content that is audience worthy content on their social media. Audience watches. A market searches. Think about your posts. Are they SEO? Are they CTA? Are they solution based? Or is it just information? Because then you have an audience, you don't have a market. So here's the 5 places. We're going to talk about the 5 places to go look for people on social media, online. So I want you to think for just a moment. I want you to hear this for just a moment. We talk about all the time in personal undevelopment and in mind setting and in law of attraction. Napoleon Hill talked about it and is probably one of the most prolific conversations about it, that your brain is both a receiving station and a broadcast station. Does that make sense? Here's the challenge, or here's the question. If I go back and look at your material, if I go back and look at your conversations, if I go back and look at your posts, is it broadcasting or is it conversations of belonging? Most entrepreneurs approach online marketing like a broadcast tower. They set up their platform, they start pushing out into the world and hoping the right people find it. And some do. Eventually, after months and months of posting into what feels like a void, something happens. Here's what's missing in that approach. Before you broadcast, before you push out into the marketplace, you need to know where your people are already tuned to. Listen, I owned restaurants in the past, did a lot of advertising. I owned 4-star steakhouses. I owned rock and roll nightclubs. I owned country and Western bars. I would not, there's a good chance that my ideal country and Western patron avatar was not going to be listening to classical music. Well, I'm sure from time to time they ventured into that area down into the 88s and the 90s on the radio dial. Wasn't their primary station. So my avatars were already tuned to a country and Western radio station. So that's where I advertised the country and Western bar. My rock and roll nightclub, same thing. I wouldn't go do that on the country station. You follow me? So the question I have for you is where are your prospects tuned to? Where are they going to look for solutions? This is why so many people struggle in marketing. They run ads and nothing happens. They run posts and nothing happens. They do a 90-day sprint and nothing happens. Because your avatar is not sitting at home waiting for you to show up in their feed. Right? They're already somewhere. They're already in communities. They're already searching. Here's the key: specific phrases. And your job, before you spend a single dollar on ads or do another series of posts, before you record another piece of content, your homework is to go find the places they already are. Not to sell, not to pitch, to listen. This is not an exercise in research. This is a foundation of belonging. You can't create belonging in a room your people aren't in. You can't speak their language. That's the challenge. You're not speaking their language. I live on a ranch. We have sheep. I have a buddy who has been working with sheep for 7 years now. I'm 3 years into it. He's been doing it for 7 years, has over 150 head. We now have 14. We're in the same radio station. We just play different shows. He has what are called club lambs, meaning they're the ones that you show at 4-H. I have Shetland sheep. They're totally different animals. They got the same kind of, they got a mouth and they got a pooper. Everything else is different. Mine are a different size. Their wool is different. They eat different. They breed different. So I ask him for help a lot of times. He says, I don't know. He doesn't speak Shetland sheep. I don't speak clubland. Does that make sense? You can't get into a room. You can't go. If I wanted to go help Shetland sheep people, I couldn't go to his. He's not my audience. Yeah, but he has sheep, not my audience. Does that make sense? So here's the 5 places. 1, Facebook groups. I have a dear friend who has built 7-figure income probably for the last decade, monthly, close to 7 figures monthly. They're part of Facebook groups. They're part of, at the time, it's probably more now because they've added some other income streams. At the time, they were part of 30,000 Facebook groups. Some of you are freaking out right now. Why? Well, how is that possible? Well, you go, if you wanted to do that, it's easy enough to do. It is free. There is no fee for 99.99999% of groups you can go join, especially on Facebook groups. You may have to get permission to join. She's part of 40,000 Facebook groups. Why does she have a 7-figure income? Because she knows what her prospects are saying. She speaks their language. Now, she wasn't part of those groups before. So, not your groups, not the groups you're in. Because the groups you're in, your prospects aren't there. Groups built around your avatar's problem and interest. Here are the most these are the most valuable research environments on the internet because people in these groups let their guard down. They let their guard down in peer groups, people who are like them. They ask questions they wouldn't ask a coach. They share failures that they wouldn't post publicly. And they search Facebook for the core problems. So if you begin searching Facebook for the core problems your avatar is trying to solve, you'll find groups where they've gathered, right? Place 2. Here's the second place. YouTube search results. Go to YouTube, type in the exact phrase. Remember the problem phrase that you solve, the one thing you solve? Type in the exact phrase your avatar would type in when they're trying to solve their problem in the search bar. Look at what comes up. Look at what gets the most views. More importantly, read the comments. These are things that they're easy to do. It's easy to go do a search on Google. It's not fun to read the comments on the YouTube pages and do the work. Comments on high performing YouTube videos. A lot of it's going to be gibberish. A lot of it's going to be, oh, I love this. This is amazing. My cat has kittens. You're looking for those phrases. You're looking for that person who's kind of raised their hand quietly, they're peeking up saying, hey, listen, I could use some help. YouTube videos are a gold mine of avatar language. Real people saying what they actually think before any coach influences them, before any coaching language changes them, before anything else influences them. You're getting the raw and the real. Here's another one. Drop an R in the chat if you're familiar with Reddit communities, Reddit. Reddit is where people go to be brutally honest. If you find the subreddits where your avatar's problem lives, read the top posts of all time based upon the topic your avatar has been seeking. Read the most commented threads. Reddit users do not sugarcoat. They tell you exactly what's not working, what they've tried, what they wish existed. You want to go build your best marketing campaign? That's an amazing source to go have a conversation. How about LinkedIn groups and content? If your avatar is a professional business owner like ours are, LinkedIn is where they're processing. This is key, where they're processing their business problems publicly. Search the problem your avatar is solving. Filter by posts, not by people. This is the professional service. This is the professional service available to you via LinkedIn. It's the surface vision of their pain. This is what the pain looks like in a professional suit. What they're willing to put their name on. And place 5, where you want to go, the people they're already following. You hear that? The people they're already following. What does your avatar look for in a leader, in somebody who solves their problem? Who do they trust? What thought leaders, what coaches, what podcasters or influencers are they already in orbit of? How many of you know the podcasters that your avatar is listening to? If not, have you asked them? Why would it be good to know what podcasters are being sought for by your avatar? Well, number one, the thing that jumps off the page at me is if somebody's listened to a podcast, they're looking for information. A lot of times it's a distraction. A lot of times it's to take away the pain, to give them a little respite. Your avatar that you're looking to go build your business with is looking for somebody to coach them, to train them, to teach them hacks, to show them how do I quantum leap? How do I jump past? How do I fill the gap? When you know who your avatar already listens to, you know what beliefs they hold, what language they're already speaking, and what gaps the current conversation is leaving. That's the key right there. And those gaps are your opportunity. Does that make sense? If you hear, oh my gosh, but they're not talking about X, and you happen to be the X factor. Does that make sense? So 4 things to look for across every platform. Here's the listening map, right? Here's the practical framework. I call it the listening map. You're looking for 4 things across every platform and community you research. Number 1, what's the question? What's the one question that they keep asking? There'll be a question that shows up over and over and over and over again. It's slightly different forms. Whatever it is, the question is not your content calendar for this next 6 months. Every episode, every post, every ad speaks to that question. That question, when you look at what you're going to post for the next 4 or 5 months, are based upon that one question being the center, being the flag post, and you now rally around it. You look at it from every different way. You post content that causes somebody to go, oh, those are the words I was using. Oh, that's what, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So before your coaching vocabulary, before your framework, before your methodology that you use, how do they describe the problem? Before they get coached by you, before they use your system, your training, your tools, your technique, your back office, how are they describing the problem? What words do they reach for? The phrasing, the words they use, the specific phrasing matters. Words have power, right? Mark Twain said it best. There's a difference between the almost right word and the right word is difference between lightning bug and lightning. The word they use internally is the word that creates the pattern that you want to match in your copy. That recognition is what creates a feeling of belonging, right? Most people who are content consumers don't hang out with me because I don't give you a whole lot of content to consume. I hold up the mirror and the window and I show you reflections of yourself. I reflect back to you the language you use of what might be keeping you stuck. And if you keep showing yourself your limitations, and I keep reminding you that you're building your own limitations into your language, there might be a clue there. So what are you doing to recognize, to fit in, to get into the room your avatar is currently in? Here's number 3, the listening map. Here's number 3, failed solutions they mentioned, right? Every community has a running list of the things that don't work. What's on your avatar's list? This is your positioning. This is how you get in front of them. Not I'm better than X, whatever that solution was, or whatever it is that you're saying. I'm better than that network marketing company. My compensation is better than theirs, right? Most people have tried a compensation plan. Here's why those approaches address the symptoms instead of the root cause. What's the root cause your compensation fixes? What is the system that becomes the root solution to their root cause of their problems, their challenges, their experiences? Number 4 in the listening map is every community is built around problems. People describe the destination, right? What's the transformation they're dreaming about? They talk about what success would look like. Those are the words you use to describe where you take people. What is it like on the destination? What is it like on the journey to the destination that your transformation provides? If you build a document with these 4 things, this is kind of your success work, your homework, these 4 things filled in, the document becomes a brief, becomes a resource for every piece of content you create, every ad you run, and every email you write for the next 90 days. See, with technology today, it's not that difficult to go speak to your avatar. Take some effort. There's certain rules you have to follow. And the rules you have to follow is you have to speak their language. If you are not connecting with the people that you say, this would be so good for them, it's because you're not speaking their language. So here's the resistance that you're going to feel. Here's a little of the shift that you're going through right now. It's usually one of 2 things. First is you're going to say, I already know my audience. I don't need to research them. And I want to challenge you directly at that. Knowing your audience at the demographic level is not the same as knowing them at the language level. Let me say that again. Knowing them at the demographic level is not the same as knowing them at the language level. The research I'm describing here today, I'm sharing with you, is about finding out how they talk, not who they are. Those are 2 wildly different things. And the gap between them is where most marketing fails, falls short, falls on deaf ears. They can't hear you. Here's the second resistance. Here's the second resistance. I feel like I'm spying. It's not. They're public communities. You're not manipulating anyone. You're listening so you can serve them better. When you use somebody's language back to them accurately, precisely, energetically, that's not manipulation. It's recognition. And it's recognition that allows the beginning of belonging. So here's what research actually does. This kind of research that you're going to do, here's what this kind of research actually does at the deepest level. It allows you, when you show up in someone's feed, using the exact language they use in the communities they're a part of, they don't feel like they're being advertised to. They don't say things like, is this one of those things? Do you realize that when most people say, is this one of those things? That's not belonging. You are not having a conversation of belonging. At no point in the previous dialogue that you've had with them do they feel like they're a part of something. They feel like they're not a part of something, so much so that they say, is this one of those things I don't want to be a part of? When you do this research, when you fill out those 4 questions, when you have a dialogue with somebody, they'll finally feel understood. They'll finally feel like, oh, wow. You know, I want what you got. I know what you know what I'm going through. That feeling of being understood before a sale, before a conversation, before any commitment is the first moment of belonging. You can't manufacture it. You can't fake it. You can earn it. And this is how. So that's episode 4. Episode 5, here's the teaser. Episode 5 is, there's the share. We're going to use the words your avatar uses to become so that you can put it in your marketing copy. Because once you know where they are and what they're saying, we're going to build the exact language system that makes your content, your ads, and your emails feel like they were written specifically for the some of you have had that. You've been part of some, you've signed up for some email list, you've been on some kind of, you saw an ad on social media in a scroll and you went, wow, that's good stuff, right? Alex Hermosi does it. Hey, listen, can I get your email? Do you have your email address? Can I get that? That's the opening of his marketing, right? And you're like, ooh, I want that. When you start to listen to the language, you'll be amazed at how fast you can begin to acquire eyeballs to have conversations with. So do the research, pick 2 of the 5 platforms that we talked about, spend 30 minutes in each, fill out the 4 questions, and we'll see you in episode 5 tomorrow. Appreciate you. Have an amazing day. I'm your DMP as your marketing message misfit, Sean Murphy. I'll see you where? At the next event. Thanks, everybody. All right, Zoomers. How can I